every regret, every depression, every anxiety, every stress. I bring every joy, every gift of gratitude, every learning lesson, every wisdom. And what do I get? I get your presence. I get this gift. I get this joy. I get this energy. I get your lessons. I get your wisdom. I get this sharing. I get this leadership. I get to look into the eyes of the youth and the conscious edge of leadership of our culture to see what you are bringing. Because there's one thing I've learned about being a leader or an entrepreneur. It's great to have a mission. And I've heard many of your missions. I got to experience them this morning. But you know what's as important? Is your vision. That's what people buy into, is your vision. What can you see in the world with your mind's eye? That's what you're creating. That's what this beautiful energy that you have is for. You are a creator. Does anybody in here not believe that they are a conscious creator? Does anybody in here not believe that you have the power of your imagination at your will at any given time? But having a vision is not enough. Having a mission is not enough. And you want to know why? I had a dream, literally, a literal dream in the middle of the night. And this very interesting gentleman appeared in the dream. And he said to me, he looked like this. He said, Travis, you can, he didn't communicate this through words, by the way. It was like telepathy, right? He was communicating through a knowing. He said, Travis, you can't just have a vision. You have to hold the vision. And he did this with his hands. Hold the vision. Because often we wake up and we have a vision of something we want in our life. We have a dream, we have a goal. How many people do you know have had missions, visions, goals, and they walk away from them? They never achieve them. They never go after them. They never pursue them. I know many people that have had brilliant ideas that never come true because in their conscious leadership, they don't hold the vision, because there's a lot that can come in, distracting energies, right? Disturbing entities, people coming in to try to dissuade you from accomplishing your vision. Your vision is the most important thing you have. Your energy is the most important thing you have. Is that clear? It makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just having a vision, it's holding the vision. So you're awesome just for being here. And so as a part of being awesome, you got a ticket because this awesome bucket has some awesome prizes from Garden of Life, some vitamin C spray, some organic protein, some Celsius fitness beverage, some Buoy hydration, and one of the best of all from Restore is a gift card that you will get that includes a full day with a 1-hour compression, 1 sauna session, a 30-minute stretch, a tier 1 IV drip, and a whole body cryo at Restore. So, as a part of my conscious leadership and heart-centered self-care, I brought you some gifts of heart-centered self-care. So you can take care of yourself a little better, right? These are the gifts, that's the bucket. Now, I'm gonna pass this around. This may seem a bit unconventional to do, but this was a gift to me from a gentleman who is a local artist, sculptor of wood and metal. His name's Norm Gitson. He brought it to me at an event in 2017, and he said, Travis, I have a gift for you. He handed this to me, and I said, what's this? And he said, this is your medallion of safe passage. Now, many of you may or may not know, if you read the bio, in 2013, I created an event that was a fundraiser and to drive awareness for cystic fibrosis, which was an 80-mile paddle from the Bahamas to Florida across the Gulf Stream. Safety is our #1 priority when we do this. So I'm going to pass this around, and I do this at all the events. And you don't have to, only if you're comfortable. I invite you to just place your hand on it or put your intention or your vision into it, not just for my safe passage or the safe passage of hundreds of people every year in June who participate in our event, for your safe passage, for your passage from this venue of college into the next venue of your life and into the next and into the next and into the next. For your safe passage or those safe passage around you. Maybe you have somebody making the big crossing in your life right now, from the earthly realm of our physical body to the whatever, non-earthly realm of the spirit body or whatever you believe. Maybe they're making that crossing and you want to wish them safe passage. But I invite you to put your energy and your intention and your vision into it. And so I'll pass it around. And I appreciate your intention. So what is my intention? My intention is to have fun with you guys. All right. And I know we're in a classroom setting, in a lecture hall, and you're in a seat and you're at school and, you know, I'm just some guy, but that doesn't mean we can't have fun. We have an awesome bucket. We have Sarika, she's fun. I'm going to play some videos. They're fun. And we're going to learn. Who in here actually thinks learning is fun? Now, you don't have to raise your hand. But if there's one thing I've learned is that I love learning. I love learning. And I love being a student of life. Because we're learning all the time. You know, one of the hardest things I had to learn from? My daughter's diagnosis at 4 years old with cystic fibrosis, a terminal disease. It took me 5 years to see her diagnosis as a gift. It took me 5 years to psychologically and emotionally process that to the point where I wasn't mad anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. But I could see how her diagnosis, that affliction, and her path and journey was teaching me. And boy, you really have to get humble to accept the teaching of life from your daughter who is suffering, from watching your daughter go through something so heartbreaking. And that's a big part of my story today and what I'll share. Many of you make great eye contact. And I'm looking into your eyes. I see it. That eye contact is your presence and your conscious leadership. And I would invite you to consider when you are speaking in front of people, when you are talking to your friends and family, when you are present with people, which we can often not be because it's easy to get distracted by our cell phones and by anything, a bird flying by. But your eyes are a tool. They're a perceiver of the information and the energy you're receiving. And you're receiving more information through your eyes than you realize. But just keep that in mind, that they're there for you. They're simple tools. Everything we're talking about today is very simple on how you bring yourself. I'm going to emphasize the value of self-care. When you produce a major event like we do, and I think our event on a large scale is harder to produce than the Super Bowl. I've been producing events professionally for 18 years. It's a labor of love. Events are hard. They start with a wonderful, fun idea. Hey guys, let's do this. And I don't care if it's a birthday party or a wedding. I don't care how small the event is or how big it is. Every event has the same process from A to Z. And if you skip one step, you skipped a step. And it's going to show up in the results of what you do. That's how events work. It's a co-creation from beginning to end. And like a pregnancy, it all starts with a great idea and a lot of fun. And there's the birthing of something beautiful and a co-creative process that grows and grows and grows with lots of pressure, lots of appointments and meetings. And it ultimately ends in a really beautiful birthing process that can often be very stressful and painful. But what it produces is the great result of the gift of love in the world. And somehow you get through that. Somehow you get through that. And not too long after, you're already thinking, I'm ready to do that again. Horrifying, isn't it? It's a beautiful birthing process, is what I'm saying, as a part of a co-creation. In our event, this crossing for cystic fibrosis from the Bahamas to Florida is a major logistical challenge. It went from a paddle event that turned into the largest recreational boating event in the Bahamas. We're talking about 80 boats, an armada, a boating fleet to get people safely. We're talking about 200 paddlers paddling in the ocean, 80 miles out of sight of shore, through the dark, into the next day, keeping them safe. Talking about hundreds of crews and captains, right? So when you deal with so much communication, the reason why I get laryngitis is because I bring so much energy that this part of my body gets strained. It's just that simple. We have to communicate a lot. Hundreds of people are communicating, right? When you get to a point where you go into a building process. Many of you have probably already experienced it. A co-creative process with a team, with an idea. There can be a lot of pressure. There can be a lot of stress. There can be a lot of anxiety. And you can watch your team fall apart around you like chickens with their heads cut off. Anybody ever seen that before? Anybody ever been in a situation where the pressure turns on? And there's two ways that people react when pressure comes on. What are they? That was a great response. Was this? What was it?
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight, right? They either react from a reactionary point, or what do they do? Was it? Respond with what? Resilience, courage,
Strength.
patience, strength, a plan, intention. And where does all that come from? It comes from presence. When people freak out, when people react, what is happening? They're having a psychological response to their environment. Right? When I'm at an event and there's hundreds of people and one person is pulling me, literally, physically pulling me on my sleeve over here, and I'm having a conversation with somebody right here, and there's three people in line to have a conversation behind them over there, right? And I hear something over here that needs to be addressed, right? You can do this, or like a good bartender would. 1 minute. Have the conversation. Finish the conversation. Be present. Be calm. Be still. Move on to the next conversation. See the practical application of that? But how hard can that be? Right? Now, the theme for today, if there was one theme, I shared it with the group this morning. The theme is this. If you're going to walk away with one thing today, I hope you walk away with a lot. Leaders make decisions. The next time you're stressed out, the reason you're stressed out is because you're not making a decision. Psychological stress is caused by a story in your head because you are not present and you are not conscious. Anybody ever heard the term woke? Who's heard the term woke? Somebody tell me what does it mean? What does it mean to be woke? What does it mean to be awake? To be aware.
Keeping with the times.
Keeping with the times. Awareness. Conscious awareness. If you're in your head telling a story, you're lost. You're gone. You're not present with that moment. Now, we all have hundreds of thousands of thoughts per day, but that doesn't mean we have to be our thoughts. We have emotions. We don't have to be our emotions. Leaders make decisions. It's that simple. When you wake up in the morning, you are leading your life. If you brushed your teeth, you made a conscious decision for self-care. When you're in a situation, presented with a situation, a project, an emergency, a family drama, you have a choice. And that choice is a decision. And leaders make decisions. I went to officer candidate school for the Marine Corps. It's officer training, right? They call it platoon leaders class. You run around in the woods, they give you a gun, you do a bunch of training, a bunch of physical activity. It's in Quantico, Virginia, big hills, big tarmac where you march around, right? The US military. Okay, now if you're in a situation, in a combat situation, and there's bullets flying and grenades and mortars and things going off, the reason why this is so important is because, okay, here comes the grenade, right? And this is just a very rudimentary and harsh example, but I really want it to sink in. Here comes the grenade. The grenade lands. You've got a bunch of people around you, you don't want to die. Now, if you stand there and do nothing, what happens? Everybody dies. So you got to make a decision. It doesn't actually really matter that much what the decision is. Let's go left. Let's go right. Let's run away from the bomb, right? Get away, figure it out, jump on it. Protect. You have to make a decision. Leaders make decisions. If you haven't written it down, write it down. It's a very simple tool. I promise you. This is for you. This is your tool because you're going to have to make decisions now for the rest of your life, for your kids' futures, for your family's futures. When your parents, if they haven't already, if you're blessed to have your parents alive, when they're going through the active dying process, you're going to have to bring your conscious presence to their active dying, and you're going to have to make decisions about their life. Who in here is not going to die? In the physical sense, that may be true. But in the earthly sense, we all are. There's even a decision there. What I've learned from a terminal disease with my daughter is that our life, your life as an entrepreneur, as a social impactor, as a leader, your life is cradled by your death. Can you get with that? Your life is cradled by your death. When you wake up every day and you look into your child's eyes and you know that they have a terminal disease, your life is cradled by your death. And that may be really intense and sincere or serious, but I'm not being serious, I'm being sincere. Feel the difference of that. What's the difference between serious and sincere? If you talk to a kid in a serious way, what happens? They shut down. If you talk to a kid in a sincere way, what happens? They listen and they respond. I'm bringing my sincerity and I'm offering it. I'm extending it because you guys showed up and you're showing up. You're unique and you're different and you're rare than many people your age who are living very unconsciously. You can feel that, right? You can sense that in your own intuition. Now, here's the beautiful thing about all those unconscious people. Now remember, we're talking about conscious leadership here, right? We all go unconscious at times. We all come often from unconscious patterns, emotional traumas, psychological stresses. Now, it's your choice to become aware of when you go unconscious or when you're conscious or when those around you go unconscious or are conscious. It's a stark contrast. You can see it in their eyes. I can see it right now in the eyes of the people in the room. Every single person who's conscious and present presents themselves in a very conscious, aware way. And the people who aren't, that's okay. You go unconscious. But what I'm offering is that the way you can bring your best, the way you will get the most out of every day and every moment of your life, the way, because some people have shorter lives than others, right? Life is short. It's shorter for some than others. Is that right? Is that correct? Yeah. Now, how old was Bob Marley when he died? Nobody knows? How old? Nope.
42.
Nope.
37.
37. Who here has never heard of Bob Marley? Nobody. Has Bob Marley's life, his vision, his mission, and his message, do you think it touched the world in an impactful way? Right. And it wasn't because of reggae music. That was the vehicle and the instrument. What was it because of? Because of what? His message. What was his message? Peace, love, equality. 37. When my daughter was diagnosed, I sat back and I thought, her life expectancy when she was diagnosed is 28 years old. Now it's much greater than that now, thanks to new therapies and medications. But I had some really sincere conversations with a little girl about the fact that the number doesn't really matter. That her life would mean much more than what that number was. And that her life would not be defined by this disease, but that she would define her life with this disease. And for me, the best way that I could figure out how to show her an example of that was to paddle across the ocean. Because for me, in my expression of love to her, I wanted an example that if I got struck by lightning that next week, that she would look back and she would say, wow, you know, my dad put it out there. He wasn't afraid to be who he needed to be in the world to bring that message forth, right? Now, I had no idea 10 years ago what that initial paddle would turn into today, right? And 10 years later, we have some tremendous results. We've impacted hundreds of lives. We serve through an organization on a national basis. We're one of the most impactful grassroots organizations in the country for cystic fibrosis. Our board of directors has grown. Our advisory board has grown. We've had some major wins. Jimmy Buffett joined our advisory board. We've raised over $2 million. And for a small grassroots nonprofit, that's a lot. We have over 100 5-star reviews on Google. The community has built our organization. Leaders make decisions. Now, for just a moment, or like 1 minute, what I'd like you to do is I'd just like you to bring your conscious awareness to your right hand. Okay, now take your right hand, undistracted, just your right hand. Just bring all your conscious awareness into your right hand, right? And now I just want you to put it over your heart center right here. And just feel the warmth, feel the presence. You can close your eyes if you want. I'll close my eyes with you. Can you feel your hand over your heart center? Can you feel your heartbeat? Now take a deep breath and breathe into your heart center. We're going to do that 2 more times. Take a deep breath and breathe in love into your heart center. And 1 more time. Take a deep breath into your heart center. Now, what we share in today, my voice and these words are just an expression of my love. What we say matters a hell of a lot less than how we feel. And how we make people feel is everything. How my daughter feels when she's laying in that hospital bed because of who shows up in her life. You can feel the deepening. You can feel the presence. You can feel the peace. Now, before you guys fall asleep, because you were out late last night, I'll bring you back, right? I'll bring you back. What do leaders do?
Make decisions.
What do leaders do?
Make decisions.
I don't hear everybody. What do leaders do?
Make decisions.
What did Bob Marley do to bring love into this world? He made a decision to bring that message. That was in his conscious awareness. We could talk about a lot of business strategy. We talk about a lot of finance strategy. We could talk about how to build a business. I could tell you how we built this thing from the ground up. I could tell you how hard it worked. I could tell you all this different stuff, how many people it took. We could talk about a lot of stuff. Video content strategy, digital media strategy, marketing, Google ads. We can talk about a lot of stuff. None of that stuff matters if you can't bring it. If you can't bring your conscious leadership, if you can't bring heart-centered self-care into every moment of every day. Doesn't mean you're going to do it. There's going to be days you don't do it. There's going to be days for some of you, you're going to go out to the bar or you're going to go get a bottle of something and you're going to drink it. Why are you drinking it? I don't know. You may drink it. I did it. I went out, I partied. To give you an example of where I was not too long after the stage of where you're at in your life, right? I had a great job after college. I was doing so good in my sales job, making so much money. I got cherry picked out of that company and got moved to California. When I moved to California, I brought my girlfriend with me. When we were in California, her life very quickly took a very interesting turn and she became very famous very quickly. And she ended up being jet set around the world in some very interesting scenarios. And then, right, my plan and vision was, whew, it was going, baby. I had it all. I had it all. It was going so well. It was going so well, right? And then I got one phone call. One phone call that changed my life. Anybody want to take a wild guess as to what that phone call was? No, but yeah, tracking down the right intuitive course. No, I got a phone call from a girl who I spent my 23rd birthday with. And I found out in one phone call that I had an 18-month-old daughter. Now, what do you think happened to the relationship I was in? What do you think happened to the plans that I was planning? They changed. And I moved back from California and came home. Now, if you think your life can't change in one phone call, imagine your life changing in 2 phone calls.
Oh, God.
And what do you think the next life-changing phone call was?
She was diagnosed. She was diagnosed.
That this beautiful little girl that I had fallen so much in love with was diagnosed with a terminal disease. And when you think a life-changing phone call is life-changing, and then you get the kind of life-changing phone call that rocks you to the core, that phone call now I've done a TED Talk about this. You can find it on YouTube. Does anybody in here have kids? Does anybody
My friends have.
anybody have little brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Now, anybody in here been a kid? Like a little kid?
Yes.
Yeah, we all have.
We all have. Wow. Shocking news. You've all been kids, right? Now, how many, anybody in here dream of having kids?
Yes.
You don't have to, that's okay. But if, raise your hand, dude. Raise your hand if one day you want to have a family and have kids. Whether you adopt them or have them biologically. Okay. Okay. So, this is an important conversation to have, right? We're just having a conversation. But life can change in one phone call. Now, when I got that call, the first call, I always felt like I wanted to have kids. I always wanted to be a dad. Always felt that. I could have 1,000 kids. I love kids. They charge me up. When I got that call, the first thing I want to know is, well, when can I meet her, right? Like, when can I see her? I was really excited. It's one thing I can honor about that moment in my life is I did not back down. I stepped right into it. Because there, in that place, you know you need love, right? In some decisions, situations, and circumstances, sometimes we say to ourselves, do we really need love? That guy next to me in the Starbucks who just cut me. I'm not gonna love him. I'm gonna dump my hot coffee on him. You know, but what I'd like to share with you is that in a conscious, present, aware state, which is what I'm bringing right now, you can bring love in every moment of your life. You can bring love in every decision, because here's the decision you have, the conscious versus the unconscious. And see if you can hang with me, okay? If you're consciously aware that you are unconditional love, you will never not be anything but that. It's a fundamental misperception of reality to see yourself as anything but divinely inspired love and an instrument of that. Now, when you go unconscious, you start to believe other stories about why you don't deserve things, why you don't have things, why you aren't worthy, right? We all feel that. We go through that. A lot of it. How many of you really care about what your parents think about what you're going to do the next 5 years of your life? Maybe you don't, maybe you do, but there's probably a belief in a story there that has something to do with your worth. Watch that. Are you consciously aware of it, or are you unconscious of it? Because if you're unconscious of it, it's driving decisions and behaviors in your life that's affecting your conscious leadership. Now, it takes sometimes years and decades for people to resolve, untangle, unbind emotional wounds and trauma and psychological stress. This is true. There is all kinds of therapies and things to deal with these things, tools, therapies, psychedelics, talk therapy, all kinds of things. Across the board. Go do ayahuasca in the jungle and come back and talk to me afterwards. So there's a choice, right? So in that choice, you either remember what you really are. And what you really are is energy, is vibration, is beauty, is love, is compassion, is divine inspiration, inspired, in spirit. The root of that, right? Our slogan on the inside of our bracelets that we pass out to people says, inspire every breath. Why? Cystic fibrosis is a respiratory disease for the most part, right? So they're losing their lung function over time because of recurring lung infections that ultimately lead to a transplant or death early in life. That's a respiratory disease. There's one flying around the planet right now that's caused by a virus. That's a respiratory disease. Are people questioning how valuable their breath is right now? Yes. What does it mean to inspire every breath? It means to breathe life into every breath. The only way you can breathe life into every breath is to be present and consciously aware that you're the one breathing the life into that breath. Otherwise, you have forgotten you're even breathing. That's what it means to be conscious or unconscious. You have forgotten who you are. You do not remember that you are unconditional love. Therefore, every decision can be rooted, seeded, and grown from that place of foundational unconditional love. But if you forget, then where is that decision rooted? Where does it come from? Now, there's a lot of books and things, there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of teachers, there's a lot out there. I came from a dirt road not too far from here. I grew up in the acreage about 30 miles north of here on a dirt road in a very conditioned, prejudiced, cultural family. I can tell you at one time in my life, I was afraid of Black people. That's how I was raised. I had one African-American kid in my class all the way until 5th grade. I didn't know. It took me going through high school and into college and going to a predominantly Black high school for me to realize that is really effed up, that I'm scared, that I have some sort of fear. Is that not? Right? Now, why did I have to go through that? Why did it require me to be in a cultural situation to untangle that? Well, that was the conditioning I had. That's what I had to learn. Now, for a long time, I judged myself for it. I judged myself for judging others. Who does that? A lot of people do that, right? You judge yourself. Do we judge others? I'm asking your forgiveness, your presence, your allowance, that I trust and surrender to you, that you don't judge me for sharing vulnerably about how I judged others. It took me years. Now, I can stand here today and I have unconditional love for every human on this planet. And I can stand in the depth of that gratitude and that compassion and that peace, and I can show up in a way that I never imagined I could, based on the limitations of the conditioning and what I grew up in. That's how I show up. Now, it's how I show up. And the reason I share that story as a part of this conscious leadership story is because who I was then is not who I am now. I am a totally different human being. Now, was the essence of my love always there? Of course. But was the conditioning and the psychological impact of who I believed I thought I was different? Yes. And it took a long time, right? 38 years old. It took me going through some major life challenges. But now I can bring myself in a different way. And I can be honest and truthful about every step of the way, about every shameful thing I've done, about every bad decision that I made. Wow, how those bad decisions shape us into who we are. A smooth sea never makes a skilled sailor, is what they say. Why? Some of you may have been through some rough stuff in your life already. Some of you, it may be coming. The question is, how will you respond when you get there? When it shows up, how will you respond? Because that will determine everything. All right, we're going to play a couple videos for you. Thank you for allowing me to express myself in a very sincere, vulnerable way. Thank you for allowing me to bring my presence and for you being present, because I can feel your presence. I really can. I can feel your hearts. And I get to share my message and my story with you about my daughter, my family, this journey, and the impact that we're making. And I know you all have big dreams, big visions. And guess what? You don't need to know what those are. Alan Watts. Anybody know who Alan Watts was? If you don't know who Alan Watts is, it might be a good thing to stroll down his lane sometimes. He brought a lot of Zen teachings from the Eastern world to the Western world in a very modern way. You can find lots of YouTube videos. There's probably actually songs like club psychedelic remix songs that have a little bit of Alan Watts talking in the background about some crazy stuff. And you're like, oh, who's that guy? That's actually how I found him. I was like, what's that guy saying? And I YouTubed him. I was like, oh my God, this guy's like a real thing. He said, among many brilliant things, he said, you have no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. That one, I use it every day. And when my daughter, who's now 14, how many of you have been 14-year-old girls? Not me. But yeah, how's 14? Oh. Woo! Yeah, I can tell you how it is, sort of. Oh boy. It feels really good to have the liberation and freedom to be able to say to yourself at 14 years old that I have no obligation to be the same person I was 5 minutes ago. You can feel that, right? And so even if you made a bad decision, you have no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. So start making good decisions, right? All right, let's roll it. Action.
And momentum has grown tonight as dozens of paddleboarders finished months of training. They're about to head in one direction for one cause in the name of one girl. I caught up with this local group determined to inspire you with every breath they take. If you had to define endurance, this is it.
We're physically ready for the crossing. It's here. It's the mental game.
These aren't your average paddleboarders, nor is this just another day on the water.
It's a big old nurse shark right here.
Ryan Burgess has been training for one of the longest journeys of his life, an expedition he's already made twice.
The ocean is my playground. It's my everything. When I'm on that board, it's a different mindset.
140 paddleboarders and 50 boats launch in a week for the 2021 Crossing for Cystic Fibrosis, an 18-hour fundraiser covering 80 miles overnight from Bimini to Lake Worth Beach. All for one 13-year-old who knows the pain of this disease more than anyone. Piper Sood was diagnosed with CF at the age of 4. Every day comes with breathing treatments and medicine. In fact, days before we shot this interview, she was released from the hospital overcoming a lung infection.
It blows my mind. There's how many people that know me and support me when I have no clue who they are.
An entire community paddling in her name, Piper's Angels, a nonprofit attached to the crossing to raise money and, more importantly, awareness for this lung disease that devastated her father and left him with only one option.
I realized the only way to make sense of all this was to see it as a gift, and that I was going to have to work really hard to do that, but somehow that was going to have to be what got us through.
Momentum caught on like the energy of a wave. Now, as the charity embarks on its 5th crossing, people from all over are stepping into the ocean to inspire every breath, including one of our own.
Being in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the night, is going to be surreal, and that will definitely be a moment that will take my breath away.
Anticipation builds each day for that moment when darkness turns to light, when mental and physical exhaustion thrust into motivation, when all the energy they can harness propels them to shore.
It changes the lives of people like myself. It gives me a purpose in the community.
All set in motion by the reality that each breath is a gift and never take it for granted. And those with CF often visit the beach where the saltwater has become a natural healing method. There is no cure, and as Piper told us, each day is a blessing when her lungs aren't on fire and every breath is painless. This year's crossing will take place Sunday, June 27th at midnight, ending Sunday afternoon at Lake Worth Beach. We have put more information on how you can support this organization and others by going to our website, WPTV.com, and we wish all of them the best of luck on their journey.
Now that was like the touching, heartfelt story, media story, which the media has really driven the success of all this because they tell the story, right? The big lesson to learn in business is like when somebody else shares your story, like we don't have much of a marketing budget, but how many people do you think that hit in South Florida?
Yeah.
This is our registration video for this year. So this is a little more action-oriented and fast-paced fun.
It's more than an individual, more than a community, more than Piper, more than the CF community. It's about what we do in our lives with this precious time that we have here on this earth to initiate something that is genuine and heartfelt and carries that presence with it, that brings you into that presence with this moment.
Wow. Wow. That's great.
So I've got my essay written.
Now we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break. We were supposed to take a break at 11:50 or 10 minutes over, but So if anybody needs to take a bathroom break or a mental break or whatever it is, to do it. And you can also use the break time if you want. If you want to ask any questions as of now, happy to answer any questions while we have the time. So you want to do a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Is 5 minutes enough?
12:05?
12:05? Yeah. You need to go to the bathroom. Now's the time.
Will it be a Q&A at the end?
Yeah, yes, we will save time for a Q&A for sure.
Okay.
12:05, everyone. For those on Zoom, take a break as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll jump back in. If we have a few stragglers come in, that's totally okay. So we have a worksheet that I'm going to pass out, and this is going to get very specific. So one of the things I wanted you guys to walk away with today was walking away with knowing deep in your heart, taking it with you, that your presence and energy and love is what you're bringing. That's conscious leadership, and that leaders make decisions. I really hope that sticks with you, because what'll happen is, as a tool in your awareness, the next time you're in a situation, something happens, and you're kind of like, in that doldrum or kind of caught in the middle of something, or, it'll come up. Leaders make decisions. And it's like having the key to freedom, because as soon as you make a decision, the energy starts flowing again and everything starts manifesting, and you start moving and going, and bam, you're in it again, right? So just keep that in mind. And that can be small decisions and big decisions. Now, I thought it was interesting. This is called a master course, right? Because that seems to imply that there's like some level of mastery going on here, right? Or something along those lines. I looked up the definition of master or mastery. It says comprehensive knowledge or skill in a subject or accomplishment, a person in charge of an organization or group, or having or showing very great skill or proficiency. So I'm honored to be a part of something called a master course in that way. But one of the things that I think that I've done a really good job with in terms of mastery is less to do with like out there in the world and more to do with in here in this world. Because if you really can't express self-mastery, it's going to be hard to express any other kind of mastery. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here today about conscious leadership and heart-centered self-care, is that, it's a lifelong learning process. And when I was your age, I felt like I needed to get some stuff done right away. It was like a sense of urgency. I was like, I got to start making money. I got to find a place to live. I got to do this, got to do that. I mean, it was like, there was a lot of pressure. I felt like I had a lot of pressure to get good grades, to make sure my parents knew that the money they helped me go to college with, that was like, I was respecting that, and that was like a good investment, and I wanted to support and be loyal to the family, and right? There's a lot of pressure, but pressure creates diamonds. So what I have here is a worksheet based on my own self-care outline. Now with our team, what we do, and this is real world stuff, so this is the tangibility of what I'm hoping you also take away, is we have a team of 5 people, 5 full-time staff employees, right? We've grown basically, over 5 years. We hired 1 person a year. It started with myself and, running around doing it all, right? And you do it all until you don't have to do it all, and then you can hire somebody else. And then I hired a director of operations. Then we were both doing it all, and then we hired a director of development, right? And because all the relationships and sponsor relationships, donor relationships were growing. Now we need somebody to interface with those people. So then we hired a director of development. Then we hired a director of programming, right? And so we're growing. Now there's a lot of like growing pains in there, and I would be excited and happy to share if any of you individually want to reach out to me after today and talk more specifically about the business plan or the executive summary or the marketing strategy or the content strategy or how to really formulate a very precise mission. Because that even is a process, and our missions change. Our mission has changed twice in 5 years. We've altered, modified our mission. Our board of directors gets together, has a vote, right? building the business requires a tremendous effort. A tremendous effort because you're accountable to so much. And we often will run away from accountability, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, it could be something so simple. Like, oh gosh, that person's gonna text me about going to the gym this morning. Oh, I missed the text. I didn't have my phone. It's that simple how we run from accountability. But here's what I want you to remember about being conscious. See, running from accountability, is it conscious or unconscious? It's an unconscious reaction.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, what are you really running from, or what I would rather say is, what are you running into? You're running into the story in your head that you're telling yourself about why you shouldn't be accountable. But here's the trick thing. Whether you run away or not, like somebody who gets a phone call about a baby, you're accountable. You're fully accountable. And what I would like for you to feel is the empowerment, right? I'm an empowerment coach. I had an empowerment coach. Now I'm an empowerment coach. Power is different in the sense of vibration, energy, and consciousness and awareness than it is in the sense of egoic power. I'm not talking about a power-hungry person who is, hurting people, right? What's the difference between leadership and what's the difference between a leader and a manipulator?
A manipulator tries to get what they want, but a leader tries to do what the people want. Follow the people's lead. You're
Yes.
leading, but you're following the lead.
Yes.
That was very fancy.
Beautiful answer.
One's toxic, one's healthy.
One's toxic, one's healthy.
Their intention.
Boom. Their intention. Hitler led a lot of people. What was his intention? Not so good for the health of humanity. Now, did it teach us a lot of lessons? Yes, but it was horrible. That is the difference between a leader and a manipulator. It's intention. I didn't come in here to manipulate you guys. My intention, I stated up front, was very clear. And my intention is that you will recognize in yourself the difference in your conscious presence with that intention when you have it. Because you're a leader. If you don't fully believe that you're a leader, do some self-inquiry. If you don't fully believe that you are made of unconditional love, and that's all that you really are, do some self-inquiry. If you don't, when you look in the mirror, if you don't see a beautiful expression of divine love, go in. Look around, see what's driving that. Because then it'll come into your awareness, right? Oh, there it is. I see it. So the intention of this worksheet that we're going to pass out, this worksheet is based on my worksheet, which I'm going to give to you guys. We're going to do an exercise right now with this worksheet. Now, if you guys want to run away from the accountability to it, you're welcome to leave. But what you're looking at is the exact outline that I use with my team. It's very simple. This is not complicated. Everything beautiful and powerful in life is simple. This is my self-care plan for 2022, which I reviewed with my team a couple weeks ago at the beginning of the year. At the top, it has my mission, it has my self-care intentions, it has my daily worksheet. On the back, it has my other notes and weekly, monthly, and yearly self-care plans. How many in here have read or worked on a business plan? Okay. How many in here have read or worked on a self-care plan?
I should be.
Okay. I'm glad to see those hands up. This plan is the most important plan you will ever have. Because if you can't take care of yourself, You can't take care of your business. You can't take care of others. It's the whole entire intention of me being here today. I thought about this and contemplated it. What am I doing with you guys? Why am I here? Aside from just sharing in the gift and presence of your love, I really want you to walk away with a tool that's going to help you today. Because I can talk to you about all the things that might help you down the road, but guess what? It's not going to help you today. But what helps you today will help you with what's down the road. So on this, you'll see you have space here to write your self-care mission. Now, look, who already is in judgment about what they're going to do with this? Are you already judging yourself about doing it right or wrong? And yes, I feel that. It's okay. Okay. Now here's the thing. This is a real teaching lesson, real teaching moment, right? You two raised your hands. You were very honest and vulnerable, right? Right? Okay. Everybody with me here? Everybody paying attention? They raised their hands about being honest about that. They're already judging themselves about their answers. Okay. You're not the only ones, but you were honest. Now, do you see how that story is unconscious? That's how you catch yourself. If you can catch yourself in the story, you've now become consciously aware. But if you take that story and you believe that story is you, how's it going to make you feel? Not so good. We want to feel good, right? The empowerment is in the conscious awareness that shifts you. You caught yourself in the story. I may be helpful to catch you in the story. It's like a little net and a butterfly, right? Our mind is filtering. Anybody ever heard of filter theory? Okay, I'm going pretty far out on the edge of some of this latest consciousness research. Filter theory essentially says that we are an instrument of consciousness and we're filtering consciousness. You're not just filtering your consciousness, you're filtering the consciousness of anything and everything around you. Now, what is consciousness? Well, that could be debated, but a lot of the leading edge quantum physics and science says consciousness is energy. You could call it the primordial energy of the universe. You can call it whatever kind of energy you want. But the basic bottom line is you standing here, right? I'm standing here, you guys, right? We have an energetic system that is processing energy. Can we all agree on that? And all energy is in vibration. Can we agree on that? Sunlight, ocean, right? So like every energy is vibration. So if we're vibrational beings, right? Okay, now what are we hardwired with to feel? Let's see if anybody can get it.
Emotion.
Yes, but what feels the emotions? The body. What in the body senses and feels?
The whole.
The brain, yes, but what actually wires the body to feel?
Your nerve.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the nervous system.
Yeah.
The nervous system feels. So everything you're feeling and perceiving, those perceptors of beautiful eyes that you have, are wired. They're wired with electricity. We're energy beings. We're vibrational beings. That's electricity. You're hardwired electrically for love. But when you tell a story and you go unconscious about something that you have shame over, something you feel guilty over, something you have anxiety and stress over, the anxiety and stress is from a psychological attachment to the story. Story. It's the story. As soon as that story is dissolved, you settle back into peace. Your nervous system can relax, right? If I told you a story right now about how this building was going to be on fire and we were all going to have to get out to survive, I mean, how many of our nervous systems would be like, right? Like, oh God. Like, some of us might be like, into presence, lead the group, lead this way, exit sign everybody, don't freak out, don't stomp all over each other. How many people died at that recent concert and got stompled on, right? Stomped on.
Yes.
Like eight people?
I think it was 9.
Right? Because people were just, was that a conscious expression of humanity? No, that was totally unconscious. Nobody there wanted to kill anybody. Nobody there wanted to die. Right? You don't want to kill anybody running out this back door if the place catches on fire. Your nervous system Okay, may I do we have permission? May we put our hands up and touch each other? Okay. Okay, now we can feel each other's energy before we touch. If you're really tuned into the subtle energy, right? But if we put our hands on each other now, right now, I can feel her warmth and it feels beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful energy, right? It's beautiful. But I'm consciously aware that I'm expressing and she's expressing just unconditional love. So I'm not sharing anything but that, right? And presence and peace. This is how simple love and peace can be. And if I breathe into my heart center, breathe into your heart center. That right there, that unity and connection, that vibration can affect this whole room. The next time you're with a partner or friend or family member, hold their hand, but practice doing it consciously, right? Do it consciously and really feel and breathe into your heart. So I use this as an example. Thank you for sharing vulnerably, because you see how quickly we judge? You see how quickly we hit that tripwire and that bomb explodes on us? I mean, it's that like that. That's not what we're here to do. That's how we learn, but that's not what we're here. In your missions, in your life, in your presence, in your love, in your peace, that's not what you're here to do. You're not here to trip yourself up. You're getting in your own way. You're here to be consciously present and aware. Now on the worksheet, you're going to write your mission. On the worksheet, you're going to write your self-care intentions, and then you're going to look at the daily aspects. Now, I started the day at 3 a.m.
What? Wow.
Right?
Oh my God.
It's on there, right? It says 3 a.m. Here's my worksheet.
Oh,
I don't get up every day at 3 a.m. Anybody heard of the 5 a.m. club? The book?
yeah.
Okay. It takes some conditioning to get up early. You know, when I went to boot camp, they wake you up every day at 5 a.m. That's called reveille. So they don't give you a choice. You know, they come in, they bang a trash can, and that's how they wake you up. Now, you have your own self-care methodologies. Some of your self-care, you may not be a morning person. You may be a night owl. That's okay. But what I will say to you is that there's a lot more time in the day than you give yourself credit for. And we all catch ourselves doing it, being lazy, kind of going, oh, what am I going to do for the next 3 hours? You know, when you're in the student phase of life, which you're always in, but in this particular educational student phase, you're always going to be a student. In this particular educational student phase, you go through kind of like waves, right? Oh my God, I have an exam coming. I have many exams. I have homework. It's probably stuff you're thinking about right now, unconsciously, that you have to do outside of here. That's maybe detracting you from your presence and being here. And that's okay. But because we have a lot of pressure on our plates, that's why we're doing this. So no matter what time you wake up, my sleep schedule adjusted over the years. Now, when do I get the most self-care and work done? Between 3 a.m. and 8 a.m.
What time do you go to bed?
I go to bed I try to be in bed at 8:30, and then I'm normally like falling asleep or asleep by 9:30. 10 would be like late for me.
Me too.
Now this is different. Now I don't want you guys to think, man, this guy's lame. Okay, all right. So, you know, once upon a time, I went out, I partied a lot, I drank a lot, you know, I did illicit drugs, things that, you know, you're not supposed to do, right? It's okay to have fun in life, right? I'm a fun factor kind of guy. I like to have fun. To me, this is fun. It was at the top of my intention, was to have fun with you, right? But fun, you know, can vary and be different, right? We have different intentions at a certain age, at different phases of our life. I won't say age, but phases of maturity or growth. It's okay. It's okay if right now you don't want to wake up early and go to the gym or work out or do self-care or whatever. That's totally fine and okay. What I'm suggesting to you as very evolved, young, mature, growing, conscious, beautiful leaders that you are, not that you're becoming, that you are. Dude, you have the best eye gaze and presence of anybody in a room I've been in a long time. Your presence is just out of this world. The whole time, this whole time, every time I look at him, he is just locked in. It's amazing. It's amazing. Not to say that I'm just pointing, right? But I just want to share my gratitude because I feel it. I feel it. It's amazing. Thank you. And see how he can communicate so much and he doesn't have to say a word. You know, I'm up here, blah, 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 you know, but so much with so little, with presence. Take some deep consideration into this. We're gonna spend about 15 minutes working on it, right? This is our working exercise. Maybe 10, to really work on it and think through not necessarily what your day is, but what do you want? What would be if you had a magic wand, right? If you could sprinkle some pixie dust on your day every day, if it could be the most magical, beautiful day of your life, what would it look like? What would it be? That's what I want you to write down. If it means that your mom calls you every day at noon and just says, son, daughter, I just want to tell you I love you. Write it down that that's what you want to be a part of your magical day, right? If it is that you wake up every morning and you get to spend 5 minutes with your beautiful, beautiful dog or cat, and you just get to share in the presence of that moment. If there's a thing called the map of consciousness, which I won't go into deeply now, but somebody has calibrated the vibration of consciousness. So there's different levels. If you're in shame, you're at 20, it's really low, you're about to kill yourself. Hate to say that, but it's true. If you're at unconditional love, you're vibrating at about 500. This is on a logarithmic scale. You can look it up. It's called the map of consciousness. It's interesting. It's really powerful stuff. But a dog, here, what does a cat and a dog calibrate at?
500.
They calibrate at like 300. But what does a dog and a cat's wagging tail and purr calibrate at? 500. Unconditional love. Who's from Canada? Somebody, oh, you were from Canada. There's a great story, and this last it, then I'll let you get to work. Man in a field in Canada, true story, with an arsenal of guns, like ARs and, you know, guns and ammunition. He's in the middle of the field, you know, opens himself up. There's hundreds of families, people around, kids, and starts screaming about how he's gonna kill everybody, okay? Imagine if you're in the situation, fight or flight, consciousness, presence, awareness, where you at? What are you gonna do? Tell a story about how you're gonna die. The police show up, SWAT team, everybody's there, right? They're gonna shoot him, you know, and they're telling him, please stop, put everything down. He hasn't killed anybody yet. He's just screaming about how he's gonna do it. He's kind of in a psychosis, right? Now, before they do anything about it, they're giving him a chance. Well, right at that moment, and you can search this story, right at that moment, a dog named Elvis with a Frisbee in his mouth comes running across the field. Why? Because what does he see? He sees somebody really excited. Everybody else is like, you know, still and down on the ground. There's one dude out there like, you know, the dog runs across the field, runs up to the guy and jumps up on him. And the guy snaps out of his psychosis, puts the guns down and surrenders. And Elvis saved the day. Because that energy of unconditional love vibrating at 500, right? It literally shifted this guy out of his very lower vibrational state. That's the power of presence. And that's a true story. Okay. Write down as much stuff as you can. And don't be afraid of what you're writing down. Don't judge yourself. Don't be harsh about it. Sorry, folks on Zoom, that I don't have this in your
I've
hand?
taken a picture and I've slapped.
Oh, wow, she's amazing.
A student encouraged me to do that.
Wow, thank you for the encouragement. That was very helpful. So write it down. Is it reading? Is it meditation? Is it going to the movies with your friends? Try to fill this sucker out. Write your intentions about why this is important to you. What does your mission of self-care look like in your daily life, in your life? How do you want to bring yourself to your businesses? How do you want to bring yourself to your family? How do you want to show up? What if maybe you don't do it, but what could you be doing at whatever time in the morning? What would it look like if it was your perfect day? What would make you feel good? Even if you can't do it, maybe you want to surf and you don't know how to surf, but maybe surfing would be awesome and you want to learn to surf. And then
On Zoom, it's in the general Slack channel if you can't find it.
And as you're going through the outline, when you get to weekly, monthly, and yearly, just write down a handful. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can fill out more of this later, but write down a handful of things that maybe you can't do on a daily or weekly basis, but maybe you can fit into your month. Like, for example, on mine, I have a massage or a juice cleanse or an outdoor adventure. Yearly, right? Like any bucket list items, trips with family, anything like that. Where do your goals fit into your self-care on a daily basis? I included accountability partners, mentors, coaches. If you have any, write them down. If you want somebody, write them down. An accountability partner could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, a teacher. Now, as you're doing this and you're working your way through it, if you want to stay sovereign kind of in your zone and stay with it, stay with it. Do this on your own. But if you want to share with your neighbor or friend and you kind of want to review it together and spark some creativity or ideas, make it a little more co-creative, you're welcome to share with a neighbor, talk to a friend, open some conversation or discourse about, what works for you, what works for them. See what you can discover with their self-care.
Because I love to
And keep in mind, self-care is not always about what you do. Sometimes it's about what you don't do. So if eliminating things is a part of your future self-care, like for me, I'm very, very sensitive to caffeine. So I don't drink caffeine anymore. I used to, but it caused me to have extreme mood swings and even some probably depressive bouts of drinking way too much caffeine when I thought I needed it and I didn't need it. But if removing stuff, taking stuff away, is help, maybe it's decluttering your closet or your house or your car or whatever it may be, that can be part of self-care too. And maybe your day doesn't start at 5 a.m., but if it did start at 5 a.m. because you had some really good sleep for a week and you were well rested and hydrated, and you woke up feeling pretty refreshed, and you had an extra 3 hours in the morning, what would you do with that 3 hours? Hi, Alexandra and Jin, how do you pronounce T-I-J-N?
Hi.
Hi.
We can say TJ.
TJ, Cam, Julia, nice to meet you. Thanks for hanging in there on Zoom. I know it's a different experience and feeling, but I hope you can feel it, and I can feel your presence here too, so thank you.
Likewise, thank you for sharing.
How are we doing? Is anybody kind of running out of ideas? Are we still working through it?
Yeah, if you don't do daily stuff already, I think it's quite hard to focus what like my yearly self-care intention is.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have been in the zone of self-care to be able to see that far. But like right now, I really just have to start one day at a time.
Yeah.
So 1 year feels a little bit,
Yeah, that's okay. Totally cool. If there was one thing that you could do this year that would just make you feel really good, what could that be?
yeah. And maybe that's the over ending goal. Instead of this. Okay. So what are these supposed to be? The intentions?
Is there anybody who's like really struggling or having a hard time with any aspect of this? They're a part of this that,
Yeah, the hourly bits are.
the hourly aspect?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you mean by like? Is that like what I wanted?
Yeah, so weekly, monthly, I'll give you guys some examples off my list, and maybe this will help.
Oh, that'd be great.
So you guys might laugh at me, but that's okay. So on my weekly list, I have a fire ceremony, a cacao ceremony, a visit a property that we have nearby that I like to go commune with the land, visit or call family, get in the ocean, watch sunrises, watch a film or inspiring YouTube video, review goals with partner, work with the land or garden, scheduled book writing sessions, Sandler sales training, scheduled time with kids or attend practices and school events, connect with an old friend for a catch up, review goals. That's weekly. Monthly, I have juice cleanse, plant medicine ceremonies, a massage, a cupping or acupuncture appointment, outdoor adventure, knowledge building activities, go fishing with my dad, take my mom to lunch and review goals. That's in a monthly. The yearly, trips with family, bucket list items, which change and evolve, retreats or workshops that I'm attending, and review goals. Thank you. As a part of self-care, right? And to give you some reference, so my daily, I made a copy for all of you. You're gonna have my exact worksheet, right? You're gonna see into my life, what I attempt to achieve every day in terms of self-care. But, in my early morning hours is when I'm doing a lot of the self-care that preps me for the day, because then I get into work and meetings and calls, right? So, you often can't have certain objectives or tasks of self-care during the day when you're working, right? But that doesn't mean that self-care isn't just consciously breathing into your heart or walking outside and standing in the sun for 5 minutes or taking your shoes off and putting your feet on the earth to ground for a few minutes or calling a friend and just telling them that you love them takes less than a minute. Make you feel really good, right? So it can be very simple. These self-care techniques and methodologies and practices. And it's a lifetime practice. It'll shift and evolve. Okay, what time is it? It's 12:42. Are we ending right at 1 o'clock on 1 o'clock sharp? Yeah, okay, great. Okay. Well, thank you for participating in this exercise. Like I said, I'm going to pass out a copy of mine. Is there anybody who would like to share what their self-care mission is? Go for it.
So my self-care mission is to have a self-care routine that allows me to be productive without feeling overwhelmed and maintain relationships without feeling pressured.
Well done. Great job. That's amazing. Very, very, very well articulated.
Eric has a self-care venture.
Oh, that makes sense. Amazing. Anybody want to share their self-care intentions or a intention? You just read one. Go ahead.
Going to the gym.
Going to the gym. I'll read my first one on the list. To maintain the coherence of my energy field. Anybody else? Yeah.
Wholeheartedness to art, nature, and music.
Wholeheartedness in nature and music or throughout?
To art.
To art and music. Beautiful. Thank you.
I didn't write it down, but being intent, like my self-care intention is to be intentional for things.
The self-care intentional is to bring intentionality into the things she does. Bam. That's an intention with intention. Yes.
I want to practice mindfulness.
Practice
day.
mindfulness.
Mm.
Mhm.
Go for a daily walk.
For daily walk, love it.
Pray every day.
Pray every day.
See the small things.
Notice the small things. Mhm.
Keeping in mind that I can't control others' actions, I can just control my reaction.
Yes.
Overcoming my laziness.
Mm. Mhm.
Prioritize what matters at the end of our lives. So like, I'd rather call my family than worry about an assignment. It's just like 10 minutes of priorities, right?
Yes, and in a death phobic culture, at least in the Western world, in a death phobic culture, that's what I meant by how our death cradles our life. Yeah, have one without the other. So very nice. Thank you.
My intention for my self-care routine is just to be present, like you said, throughout the whole talk, is a lot of things escape you when you're not.
Yes.
Super important to just be
Mhm.
present throughout the day.
Beautiful.
For anyone on Zoom, feel free to unmute.
Anybody
if
on
you
Zoom that
want.
wants to share an intention from their list? Okay. Now you have that daily self-care worksheet. You can continue to work on that. All right. Use this. You can retype this into whatever format works for you. This is what works for me. I just try to keep things simple. I keep this on Google Drive. Each one of our team members has this. Now, what do you think having this does when you share it on a team with other people? Accountability. Anything else?
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability, which is strength.
It encourages them to take care of themselves too.
Yes, it encourages and inspires confidence, because what often happens is you create this and then you share it with somebody else and they say something that you hadn't thought of. And you're like, wow, I didn't even really think about that. I'm going to add that to my list. That sounds really good. Right now, all of a sudden on the team, right? What do you have together? When everybody's shared these and you are aware of each other's self-care plans, what do you have together?
Challenge.
Accountability, challenge,
Community.
vision, a mutual coherent vision for how the team is going to take care of itself. So when all that pressure, that overwhelming stress and pressure arises and you're having a hard day, I know what works for Ayana, for Tatiana, for Casey. Right? We know how to be there for each other because we've shared it. We know how they express their self-care, so I can be there to support them in that. So this can be a valuable, valuable tool in your conscious leadership for your teams and teaming. Is there anybody here who's never been on a team or isn't on a team currently? It's teamwork for the rest of your life, right? What do they say? Teamwork makes the dream work. It's true. I say it all the time. Teamwork makes the dream work. Use it. Bring this. This is bringing conscious awareness into your daily self-care and life. And when you do that, you form mastery. This is mastery of the day. You see how that would work? How when you have this, it doesn't mean it always will go to plan, but when you have that, then the unconscious reactions, the laziness, the running away from your responsibilities or accountability, it doesn't have as much room to live inside your day because you are beginning to master the day. I remember getting to a point where I was so pissed at myself for being lazy or unaccountable that I made a promise to myself. I can remember exactly where I was standing. I was at my parents' house in the backyard, standing by the patio, by the grill, really angry, like rah at the world, you know, right? You ever had one of those days, like you're in your car and you're like, rah, you know, like, why? Or like, you know, rah, you know, I was having one of those moments, you know, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm just going to study efficiency until efficiency is my middle name. Because if I'm the most efficient person I know, I will be the most successful person I know. Because what does efficiency produce? Results. Bam. That was like Michael Jordan jumping from the, you just did that. You nailed it, man. Results. I mean, flying through the air with that one, right? Results. This is all just results driven. What are the results? All you have to do is look at the results at the end of the day. And guess what? Results don't lie. It's all Tony Robbins stuff, right? Results don't lie. It's all results driven. So they're the results. So if you get into a big argument and a blowout, right? You may be in one of those relationships right now. You could call it a toxic relationship. You could call it a vampire relationship. You could call it an endurance relationship. You know, one of those relationships you get into where you break up with a person 13 times, you know, and then you like keep going back. And then like 3 years later, you're like, why did I waste my time? You ever done that? Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe, just maybe, when that happens and you get caught in the drama of a situation, maybe you're really just caught in the story of an unconscious pattern or belief that's sneaking in. And there's a reason why you keep going back and doing the same thing over and over again, because you're trying to learn a lesson the hard way. But you know, in the research and the science, there's some stuff that talks about addiction is not a disease, but it's just an extreme form of learning. We are really good at beating ourselves up as humans. Really good. Really good. This is a conscious way to do the opposite. Self-care. It's a conscious way to bring decisions into your daily life. Decisions because you're a leader, to bring your presence and awareness. And believe me, when you articulate this well enough to yourself and you know your self-care, I could run through my entire self-care plan without looking at a piece of paper, because I actually do it every day. And it's very few days, and I know what I missed if I didn't do it. If I didn't walk outside and stand on the earth for 5 minutes, I know it and feel it throughout the rest of the day. You know when you miss it. If you get into a pattern of meditating, of any kind of mindfulness practice in the morning, to bring silence in, to sit in stillness, right? And those of you who want to run from the accountability of your monkey mind that's going, you say, I can't meditate, right? How many people? I've known so many grown adults are like, I can't meditate. Well, then they obviously don't know what meditation is. And they actually haven't studied it. And they really haven't put any much time into doing it, if they say that. So this is a tangible tool. And that's why really it was one of my intentions I wanted you to leave with today. A tangible tool that you could walk out of here today and go, okay, all right, I picked up on a couple things. I'm going to do a couple things. You all are filled with latent potential. Right? Potential is energy that hasn't expressed itself, just like in a seed, right? There's latent potential in a seed, right? Everybody gets that? I mean, how much, right? Think about an oak tree. It's a little baby seed, an acorn, planted in the ground in 40 years. Holy crap, all of that was in that little seed, you know? Well, it drew energy and minerals and vitamins and water and light out of the earth. You know, it's a pretty amazing process. You all have latent potential. Now, if I was your empowerment coach, which I am in this moment, so I get to be that, I would be looking and tracking for what that latent potential is. It's like mining for a gem, right? You understand what I say by tracking? You know how a jaguar tracks through the jungle? Soft and gentle and still and quiet. You think the jaguar is thinking about yesterday or tomorrow? No. The jaguar is it's thinking about right now, and it's looking to discover an opportunity. And what I'm hoping to convey to you is that the greatest things you will share about your life are not what you'll find in a book. Now, those will be good teachings and learning. But the greatest things that you will discover about your life are the discoveries you will make. Looking and tracking into your field of awareness. Now, if you're not aware, whack. It's up to you how many times you want to get whacked. I did not like getting whacked. It's painful. The first arrow you get hit with is pain. Wham! You got shot with an arrow, right? Now, the second arrow is suffering. You can live a life with and through and be very present with pain. And pain comes and goes. But you don't have to suffer. The second arrow is your doing. You shoot yourself with that second arrow. That's the suffering caused by the unconscious reaction to the pain. Now we're talking pretty big esoteric, philosophical, life living stuff here. But I have this deep down trust and faith that at one point I was living a very painful unconscious life in some very painful unconscious situations and circumstances and relationships. I don't live that way anymore. I live in an infinitely unbounded universe of peace and unconditional love. And I'm consciously aware of it all the time. And so I never look into your eyes and don't see full devotion from myself to yourself as self, because there's no separation between us. There's only a perceived separation. So I'm fully devoted to you. And that's how I brought myself today, in full devotion. And if you pick up the phone and call me at some point, I will bring that again and again and again. And if I see you at Starbucks and you cut me in line, I will breathe into my heart and I will express the deepest gratitude and compassion for being the teacher in that moment that is teaching me how to deepen and express my gratitude and love for somebody who just made an unconscious decision. Your greatest teachers are the people you're trying to run from, including yourself. That's conscious leadership. Remembering who you are, remembering what you are, not forgetting. I didn't bring any religious context into this talk, did I? I didn't bring any dogma. I didn't bring any preconceived ideas about who you are. I didn't bring any judgment. I just brought unconditional love and conscious presence and awareness. And I'm going to take a guess and say that you can feel it, the difference. And that's what I want you to feel. Because if you can feel it, here we go. My kids know this. This is the one I like to play with most. If you can feel it, you can transform it. Why? Because you are hardwired with your nervous system into the infinite field of energy around you. And if you think you're not, that's just an unconscious, unrealized, unaware story. And when you realize you are infinitely connected through your nervous system and energy into the infinite field of energy around you, peace, unbounded peace and presence and conscious awareness. If you can feel it, you can transform it. So when you write these things down and you do them and you practice them, if you can feel it, you can transform it. If you can feel pain, if you can feel heartache, if you can feel what it felt like for me to have my daughter, this beautiful little 4-year-old girl, diagnosed with something that really scared the shit out of me. It really made me feel like I lost total control of my life and hers. It made me feel like there was nothing I could do. It made me feel helpless. It made me feel heartbroken, devastated, shameful, guilty. You have a decision, you have a choice in every moment. But you got to bring yourself. You got to bring it. 1 o'clock.
Wow. Lily, we have a student that has a little something for you.
Oh, thank you. And I have a little something for you because we got to draw these awesome bucket tickets.
Oh, wait, so should we? Okay, we'll do the gratitude and then we'll do
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for being so vulnerable with us and inspiring us to be leaders. Every decision that we make, basically like we're 24/7, we're leaders. And the impact that you're making to people is just like
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And watching as Watson shows, we usually paint our
Oh, wow. How exciting. Totally. Wow, this is exciting. Super very empowered.
Social superhero.
Woo. Thank you. Yes.
and thank you for protecting our courage.
Yeah, of course. High vibrational light beings of the universe. Here we go. Okay, now we got some stuff you're gonna win. So we have this awesome day at Restore. We've got the vitamin C's and we have the raw meal protein stuff, and we have the Celsius fitness-based energy drinks, no sugar. And you also have, I have one 1 hour empowerment coaching session with me, if you want that. So the way this is gonna work, we're gonna pull a ticket, we're gonna read the last 3 numbers. If it's you, you're gonna come up and just pick what you want. Because you might not want some of this stuff, but pick what you do want. The vitamin C spray tastes really good, and it's really good. Like, I mean, 5 sprays in your mouth, and it's like, it's a tart cherry flavor. It's really good stuff. And then there's also this electrolyte squeeze. So, okay. Who would like to help? Here. Can't pick your own. Now you can pick your own.
No, you can't.
So I should just stand up now.
Okay, read the last 3 numbers.
The last 3 numbers for this is are 765.
Hey, come on. All right, sorry, pick a number. Your choice there.
765.
Yes, ma'am, as you should.
Should I pick it?
Should I take?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a great idea. No.
756.
Okay, go ahead. 760.
760.
The person is
I have a
Going once? Do you have the ticket 760?
What's your ticket number, John?
I have multiple because no one else paid.
760.
Oh! Perfect time. Come on down. This is like way more fun wearing a cape. Like, this makes so much more sense.
I can grab something?
Anything you want, yeah.
Did somebody grab that like super massage? thing?
Yeah.
So what do I got? What do I got?
771.
771. 771. Going once.
That's someone.
Did you win it?
771, yes. All right, he took the Celsius. Wonderful. All right, I'm gonna pick the next one. All right, 740. Hey, right up here in the front. Awesome. Protein, this. All right, the next ticket. Here, will you pick one for me?
Pick the right one. Come on.
751.
7 by 1, yeah. We got a winner. All right, here, pick the next one.
742.
742. Hey, all right. All right, I think we're down to the last couple. And I need a couple people to help me. If somebody could just pass these out, thank you. Just one for everybody. That's that, and this one's on the 5 a.m. club book. Pass these out too.
Andy, do you mind passing these up?
Okay, take another ticket. Do we have any left? We're down to,
The last three numbers?
yep, last three.
770.
Christine.
Oh, no.
All right, what do we got left? Okay, oh, did somebody get the empowerment certificate?
Yeah.
Who got that one? Awesome. She'll be able to get my contact info to follow up, so we can schedule a time.
Another
Yes, another one.
one? 739.
The last one, it's either the buoy or the vitamin C spray.
739?
No.
Lily.
Right, vitamin C spray. Woo! All right, thank you for participating in the awesome bucket. You guys are awesome.
Guys, as always, let's do a photo if we can with our guest. Is that it for prizes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Andy.
Is it raining outside?
Thank you all very much. I really enjoyed the experience and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity. So,
Okay, guys, let's go outside. It's not raining. We can probably get one photo out there instead. It's kind of tight here. Outside, normal spot. I'll see you all out there in a sec.
Hello. Oh my gosh.